Danny boy, how's it going?
All is well, man. What's up?
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming down and see me.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, man. This
No
is,
doubt.
you did a lot of good things, man. I worked with Tupac.
Oh,
you
wow.
know.
yes. I am so blessed for that, man.
Yeah, Death Row, everything, came up with him.
No doubt.
Yeah. So how did you and Suge meet? How did you get involved with Death Row and everything?
I was with an independent record company out of Chicago by the name of Raw Dope. They were known for actually bringing out a group by the name of Crucial Conflict at that time. And I had an opportunity to record in the city of Chicago, put together a demo record, and we went to LA to actually meet with another record company while the guy Shorty Capone was waiting to meet with some people at Interscope, and Suge Knight walked in and he had an opportunity to find out that I was about to do a meeting, and he was like, bust something. He thought that I rapped, and I started singing. He was like, wait a minute, wait. He left out of the room for a second and came back in with this short guy and just said sing for him, and I later learned that that was Jimmy Iovine that I sang for.
Oh, okay.
And that's when the deal was kind of sealed.
Oh, okay. What were some of the first things you did once you got on Death Row?
Wow. I think we came to Las Vegas, Nevada. We came to some type of award show, and I think it was actually the first award show, whatever show it was their first attempt at trying this award show. And I'm a church boy from the west side of Chicago. I had been around, a lot of street dudes because I grew up, in the hood. But once I got to LA and we came to Las Vegas, they came here, and I had an opportunity to see Death Row, the real Death Row, I should say, like right up front, real close.
Can you talk about what happened?
I mean, it was some dude got on the stage and, he was throwing up some gang signs, and some of Suge homies walked up while they were filming and beat him up while they was filming. I mean, it was, to be somebody that I was used to talent shows from the city of Chicago, all around the city that I had done, but, to see somebody fighting at the damn award show.
They were performing at an award show?
Yeah, the awards was filming. They was like right in the moment. And whoever this dude was, went up there and started doing some gangbanging stuff, and some of Suge homies went up there and actually jumped on him.
Did it mess up the award show?
Yeah, I think the awards was over then. I think that was the beginning of me getting an opportunity to see Death Row being asked, would you please leave? Would you please leave? Can you please leave? That was a hard thing to kind of ask Suge Knight at that time. Could you leave? So that was pretty much of a task as well, if I could remember.
Okay. Who all was there from Death Row?
I mean, everybody was there.
Pac, Snoop, everybody?
Not Pac. Tupac.
Oh, that was before Pac.
When I got to Death Row, Tupac.
How old were you at this time?
I was 15, about to turn 16 years old.
So at 15, 16 years old, you're with Death Row.
Yes.
And your first experience with them is they jump on stage.
They beating the hell out of somebody on stage.
What were you thinking at that time?
What in the fuck did I sign up for? What did I just sign up for? Where am I? I need to go home. I was thinking of a whole lot of things, actually. But, it kind of gave me an adrenaline rush as well, because it reminded me of being in Chicago. I'm fresh in high school. Like, I was almost in my second year, going into my sophomore year. So, I was used to seeing fights, but these were grown men doing it. So it was pretty different for me.
Okay. So Suge took you under his wing and, did a lot of things for you when you first got into Death Row.
Oh, yes. Did he?
What was some of your first other experiences you had? You moved out here, right?
Yeah, I moved from Chicago. I didn't immediately move because I didn't sign immediately. Suge offered the deal, but I didn't sign probably until about 6 months later. But he still took me under his wing, put me in a hotel. I stayed in a hotel almost 2 years in LA on Sunset. So I was right next to the House of Blues. I was there when they even broke ground to even build it. So to have the opportunity to be in the neighborhood with, Hollywood. I was in Hollywood, getting an opportunity to see all the artists perform at the House of Blues. I stayed in the hotel. Actually, I stayed there for almost a year or two, and Jamie Foxx stayed there for about 6 or 7 months. A gospel singer, BB Winans. Yeah, CC Abibi is the guy. The guy Mr. Winans, he stayed in the hotel as well. So for me to know him from gospel, just know him from church and know his music, and have an opportunity to stay in a hotel with Jamie Foxx and singing with them in the evening time. And Jamie Foxx was like the hottest on in Living Color at that time. So that was really an experience. It was like, I was living in the inside of a television or something. I was living on TV because I was actually around those type of people.
Okay, so you got to meet everybody.
Oh, for sure.
So
Slowly it was coming. I had been in LA, and being in the right place, you're always able to kind of see, those that that's big in Hollywood, so to say. So that came pretty fast.
How did they find out you were from Death Row? You were working with Death Row?
Well, the thing about Death Row, Suge kind of had this thing where, we really wasn't a part of that Hollywood shit, as Suge would say it. Meaning, if we were in an Instagram time at that time, if Instagram wasn't around in the 90s, I don't think we would have caught a lot of the stuff as, we catch today, because Suge didn't believe in running up to other celebrities and saying, hey, let me get a picture and da-da-da-da-da-da. His biggest thing was that he always told me was, you let them run up to you. Like, don't be running up to them. You know what I mean? And, you kind of learned that pretty fast. And nobody was hotter than Death Row at that time. You know what I mean? Even though these were artists that, I was used to seeing as I was growing up, or people that I was seeing on television, there was still a way, I was kind of trained in a way to know how to act. Be excited, but, stay in my place and try to act as if I'm already in Hollywood as well.
Is there any time Suge got mad at you when you were young?
Hell yeah. Man, when I first went to Death Row, and you'll hear about this in my book, Stranded on Death Row. I first went there. I was, as I said, Shorty Capone, after he signed me, he went back to Chicago. He left me with my $25,000 signing bonus of the $100-something thousand that he got paid.
Oh, take me through that. How'd that all unfold?
So Suge was like, I want that nigga. You ain't gotta take him to no meeting. And like the meeting that I was on my way to, it was canceled. Because Suge made an offer like immediately, like $250,000. Like immediately, I'll give you $250. Let me have him. Da 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 da. So the talk went around for a little while, but it ended up being almost $170-something thousand signing, something like that. And we signed. They gave me $25,000, and that's a lot of money to give somebody that I grew up on the west side of Chicago on food stamps. You know what I mean? When they were in the paper book. So to give me a $25,000 check at that age was definitely something incredible. Before I got that check, Suge put me in the Peninsula Hotel after finding that Shorty had left me in LA after getting that bonus.
So how do you end up with that? Was your manager at the time?
Shorty Capone, yeah, he was more like my manager, the CEO of the production company.
And how do you end up taking your money?
Well, I guess, I'm 15, 16 years old, so I really wasn't.
And that was supposed to be the guy that was supposed to be watching out for you.
That was the guy that was supposed to look out for me. You know what I mean? And there's some things that I've said in the past in interviews. I'm so glad that I'm maturing that, I don't think I've ever said this before. Shorty is the creep, or was the creep that he was because he knew no better. And I used to say some horrible things about him. And, at this point, I could say that I appreciate Shorty, what he did, giving me that opportunity to meet who I met. Suge Knight put me in that position. I don't like the way that I was played because I was a minor and I didn't know any better, but honestly, I don't think Shorty knew any better when it came to the business. And now that I'm an adult, I guess I could say that. I was left there. And the good part about when Suge found out that I was left there, my mother was ill at the time, so I had to have a guardian. And Suge was like, well, man, you around me. I might as well be your guardian, though. Before that happened, I'm staying in the Peninsula Hotel, and Jewel, one of the first lady of Death Row on the R&B side, she brought girls over to my hotel to the Peninsula every day, and they was getting these bottles, and I didn't know what the bottles was until I found out they was Cristal, and I didn't know they were so expensive. And she would come with at least 7 to 10 girls every day. And they was getting bottles of Cristal, they was getting their feet done in their room, they were getting pedicures, massages, buying clothes from the gift shop. And what got me in trouble was I took the limousine that they give you, a limousine with your room. You can just have them take you wherever. It was a Rolls-Royce limousine. I took this limousine. Jewel hooked me up with somebody to give me a burnout cell phone. but I had to go to Compton to get it. So I am riding in a limousine, in a Rolls Royce limousine in Compton. And Suge's assistant, Roy, called the guy and said, hey, Suge want to meet with Danny Boy, how close are you to the office? And he said, well, sir, we're on Rosecrans and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And you could hear him say, oh no, you gotta be fucking kidding me. You have to be fucking kidding me. You're where? And he said it to him again. And I heard the phone click in and Suge on the phone. And he's like, hey, where the fuck y'all at? He asked him the driver, and the driver was like, well, sir, we're on da-da-da-da-da-da in Rosecrans. And da-da-da. He said, you motherfucking idiot. Bring that motherfucker up to my office right now. And I mean, he was saying more than that and just cussing on the phone. And I'm like, oh shit. So when the guy hung up the phone, I was like, hey, look, I'm 16 years old. I don't really know what's gonna go on, but you need to take me to the airport. I went to the airport and flew home. Immediately. Like,
first
the
thing
first
out,
flight smoking.
first
I think it was a United Airline. I can remember getting on the plane. Like, I'm out of here. And it took me a couple of months to come back to LA. And when I got back, he made me wait around as usual, like everybody else waited around for him. He say 7 o'clock, he'll be there at 1 o'clock a.m. I waited around, he came and he said, hey, I look like I fell off the back of a fucking banana truck. I'm like, I really didn't know if that was a gang term or something. And I was like, no. And he was like, I'll fuck you up. I don't give a fuck that you no kid. I'll fuck you up. And I'm just kind of like looking at him, and I looked over at Shorty Capone, and I looked at him again. And he was like, I fuck with you, but don't be on that Hollywood shit. And I think that was the only time that I had a run-in with him. But after him becoming my guardian, it was kind of hard to have a run-in with him because I would say things to him that nobody else could or nobody else would. I would take those chances.
So he was mad about the money you spent.
Yeah, he was real mad. I'm like almost $90-something thousand.
Oh, that much?
Yeah, within 2 months. 92 months, 3 weeks or 2 months, something like that. But I spent like $90-something thousand. Charged it all to the room. I didn't know the Cristal was costing, $200-300 a bottle. And we was drinking it every day for like 6-7 days straight. Pedicures and I didn't know you could charge all of it. I'm just signing the paper. I didn't know that it was connected to money law.
You had mentioned, I think, when you were staying there that you ran into Biggie.
Yeah, man. I ran into Biggie staying in the La Montrose. This after I stayed in the Mondrian Hotel for a while, and I kind of got tired. I wanted to move, and I moved to the La Montrose Hotel. And I just got back from the studio and getting me some weed. And this big dude coming, he walking down the hallway with some dirty ass socks on, headphones on, and he writing. And he's writing. And you can actually hear him, it was a song, I see some ladies tonight, this should be having my baby. You hear him just kind of like saying the verses, and he smelled the weed on me. He was like, hey, you got some smoke? I was like, yeah. He's like, shit, da-da-da-da-da-da. We end up on the roof, on the rooftop of the hotel, and I probably had about a half an ounce, maybe, and he smoked almost all of it, if not all of it. But the next day we met up again, we smoked again, so that was incredible, and that was much before the whole East Coast.
Was that before his first album, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, was he out there by himself, or?
He was in the hotel by himself, but it was always, the La Montrose Hotel is a hotel that all the artists come to, especially artists that's kind of breaking in the industry. This is where the record companies would place them.
Oh, okay.
So if you was breaking in the industry or coming out to do an award show, you stayed at the La Montrose or the Mondrian.
Oh, okay. So at this point, you're on death row. You've been adopted by Suge. You're hanging out with them all the time. Can you take me through your weekend at the Source Awards?
Wow. The weekend at the Source Awards. So a little bit, I guess, I shouldn't say an East Coast, West Coast thing, because I don't think it was never an East Coast, West Coast thing. It was people that was mad at, people, Suge and Puffy and, any other person that he had a problem with. It wasn't the whole city or the whole, that region. We're there, we're chilling, bunch of guys are all around. We're all around at the Source Awards. Everybody went to the awards.
Were you guys there before? But did you guys hang out before the awards? Or
yeah,
anything?
we always hung out. We went to the club. We didn't hang out that night before the awards because the awards is almost like an all day, an all day activity. And we partied. We was that day. We got there, went to the mall, and I remember showing up to the awards, showing up to the arena, and we knew that the whole East Coast, West Coast. I'm sorry. We knew that the bad boy and death row tension was there, but I don't think nobody really kind of understood.
So this was before he made the comment, then, right?
Yeah. This is before he made the comment.
What were the reasons do you think was the tension going on?
Well, whatever. Suge had already started meeting with Pac,
Okay.
and I think it had a lot to do with Pac feeling like Puffy had something to do with him being shot. And Suge just was riding with Pac, and anything that Suge said, that's what went. When Suge said it, especially on my side, because that's who I rode with, And when we got there, you could feel the tension in the room. And when they called Suge up to accept the award, I'm sitting there, and he told me to come up, come on. I'm like, I'm excited, because this is the damn awards. I get an opportunity to walk on stage. I jump up out my seat. And he get up there and he go, yeah, if anybody want to title your CEO, and I'm like, woo, woo, and I'm still going woo, but damn, we didn't know he was going to say this in front of all of these people that was there to kind of support Puffy. We're in an arena with more than 3,000 people. And
What city was this in?
this was New York.
New York.
It was in New York, and we there, kind of he's going against Puffy, and we're in this city with about 3,000 other people that love Puffy. So you can hear the booing in the crowd, you can feel the tension in the room, but again, at that time, you would feel, or we felt, or at least I felt, the death row was untouchable.
Okay. Well, now, you guys hung out after the Source Awards, right?
Yes, we did.
And Suge and Puffy actually ran into each other.
They ran into each other. If I'm not mistaken, we were at the Tunnel, the club that's called the Tunnel. And Suge ran into Puffy and his crew, and his security came up there, and Suge and Puffy started talking, and Suge, kind of saying some things to him, Puffy saying some things back. You could see the tension between the both of them.
What broke it up? Were you there?
Yeah, I was there. You know what I mean? As soon as Puffy started talking, I kind of got up, and got in between him and Suge, and kind of pushed Puffy a little bit away. You know what I mean? And I got in between them and kind of pushed him away.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Who else was there with Puffy?
His security.
That's it? No, none of the bad boy people?
No. Well, it was a crew of people, but it was, you could tell his lagoons and his security. So I was a little amped up because, I was around Death Row, so I was a little amped up and pushing them, and Suge kind of like, no, it's good. They talking, and I really don't know what they talked about, but you could tell, it wasn't pleasant. But, at that time, Puffy had a lot of respect for Suge, I think.
Okay. What was the vibe after this happened? Like, did anybody confront him about it? Like, yo, what are you doing?
No, you wasn't confronting Suge. I don't care who you was on the label. I don't care what none of them say in their interviews now, how they said that they said all of this. Nobody said shit to Suge when he did it.
Did anybody say anything
And
behind his back?
I'm sure they did. But I wouldn't know because I hung around Suge, so to say. And Suge was the blood side, so to say. So I was able to be around him and some of his friends from his neighborhood. So I didn't get an opportunity to hang around Snoop and his guys to kind of see what they were saying off on the side. But I'm sure they wasn't happy. I'm sure they didn't agree with it. You know what I mean? But, it was what it was. If Suge said move, we move. We move like an army.
Right. What happened when Suge and Dre went up there afterwards?
Well, when Suge and Dre went up there, I just think that was just to kind of help break the ice. When Snoop and Dre, right?
Yeah,
Snoop and Dre. Yeah, it was to break the ice. Snoop was the biggest in hip hop at that time, and Dr. Dre has always been Dr. Dre. So, they went in there, and as Snoop said, y'all ain't got no love for Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre. I think he was trying to break the ice, with that, because you had no choice but to love Dr. Dre and Snoop and the hits that they were making. And I think that, again, at that time, Snoop and all those guys were being pulled into something, that they probably didn't even want to be involved with.
Were you guys all sitting together?
Yeah, we took over like 2 rows.
Okay.
Probably 100 something deep.
At this point, you're flying out with Suge to meet up with Pac.
Yes.
Do you have any idea that he's trying to get Pac out, or that he's trying to sign Pac or anything? You just rolling.
The first few times, I didn't know. Like I said, I always rode with Suge, and it was, for me, it was a joy to be able to jump on a private plane and just go when Suge said come, or meet me here. That was a joy to be able to do those things. I didn't have any idea in the beginning, maybe the first few times that we went, that it was Tupac that he was visiting.
Oh, you didn't even know what you were going to New York for?
I was just in New York. We drove down to where the prison was, and there was a restaurant right across the street. Myself and whoever was with me would sit in the restaurant while Suge and David Kenner went over to the prison. And maybe the fourth or fifth time, somewhere around that time, after those visits, here come Pac and Suge walking out the door. Pac walking like George Jefferson, with this swag and this walk.
Were you surprised?
Yeah, I was surprised. What? I mean, before maybe the visit before he got out, Suge said, Pac coming to Death Row, and everybody knew Pac was coming. We were anticipating him coming, but I didn't have any idea that last time that we went that we were going to get him.
Oh, okay. What was that plane ride like home?
What was that plane ride? Well, bunch of weed. That's the Mile High Club went down. If y'all know what that means. Okay. We partied all the way from the East Coast back to the West Coast, and it was incredible just to see how happy Pac was. That was my first opportunity, our first time getting a chance to meet Pac, and it was just a joy to just see somebody. First off, I knew of his music, you know what I mean, but I really wasn't kind of into rap like that. But everybody knew who Tupac was from the movies or from his previous music that he had out. And just to see the joy of him being released, and everybody knew the story of him being accused of rape, being in jail. To see him released and be so happy, I think that was the most incredible thing.
What was he saying on that plane ride home?
Shit, smoking, drunk, drinking, talking shit, happy, talking about how much he's gonna record and what he gonna be doing and what songs we gonna do and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And it went on until he got to California and we got to the studio. And he pulled up and everybody's waiting in the studio and Pac's at the back door, security go get him, and he get out of the car and Pac falls completely out. Completely pass out, face first hit the ground, boom!
Ouch.
And everybody started running to him and putting water on him. I think he was either he drank too much or smoked too much. And after he come through, he just kind of looked up. He laughed and jumped up off the ground, and everybody was laughing at him, and Pac didn't come out the studio after that.
Oh, okay. When he first got out, did a lot of people stop by to see him?
Everybody stopped by to see Pac when he got out. Everybody. Anybody you can think of. Queen Latifah. Oh my God, Queen Latifah, some of the Wu-Tang. All the artists that you heard on those records, that's how those people got on the records. The All Eyes on Me record and the Makaveli record, they were stopping through then. And one of the visit that was probably the most was when Faith came to see him.
Oh, okay, you were there, right?
For sure I was.
What happened when she came?
Well, when she came, she got out of the car and they went out and got a bunch of luggage out of the car. Like this big Louis Vuitton chest was filled with like clothes, and jackets, a lot of stuff for Pac that she had bought him. And
she bought him a bunch of gifts.
A bunch of gifts.
So Faith bought Tupac gifts.
A whole lot of gifts. A whole lot.
So this was before they met up at the club and did the song then?
Oh, for sure. That was around the same time. They were at the club. They had been at the studio already.
Oh, this was already after they recorded?
Yeah. No, this was right before they recorded.
Right before they recorded.
I think this led up to it because she had came, if I'm not mistaken, she recorded that day. Okay. If I'm not mistaken.
What were you thinking when you seen her with all these gifts and that's Biggie's wife? Were you like, what?
That was something everybody was kind of used to around Death Row too. Like, it was something, but, the way Suge got back at you was to sleep with your girl. So to see somebody else's girl in the studio was just something I was acclimated to. It wasn't nothing special. She was just, she was somebody else.
How much do you think she spent on Tupac?
Man, she had at least $50,000 worth of clothes in that chest. For sure. If you could think about all of the stuff that it was, the Louis Vuitton and Gucci stuff and things like that, it was at least $50,000 worth of stuff.
Oh, okay. And were you there when they recorded the song?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. How'd that go?
Shit, she like any other song. Pac go in the studio and just come with a song and you just go in and record. Pac was always in the B studio, I was always in the A studio. So Just if Pac wanted it on there, he wanted a girl on there. You going in the studio because, I mean, you wanted to be on this record because it was the most anticipated record, coming out. And if he played it for you, it was some banging hits coming from Devontae and Dr. Dre and all those guys that put their record together. So it was a no-brainer for an artist when it came to hearing those records. I don't think at all she fought to not be on it. I think she heard it, and when she started singing them, and that's why they call you a bitch. I bet you why they. And she went in there and laid those vocals.
Did Death Row ever try to get it cleared? Were
they tried to get it cleared. That
out?
Shit was not going on. So they had to take Miss Shaylee whack ass and put her whack ass on the vocals.
Ah. Okay.
But you could still hear Faith. If you listen to it, you can still hear Faith vocals on that track. My bad if somebody gonna get in trouble for that, but Faith, they use some of your vocals anyway, and I know you know it.
Oh, she's like under there.
Yeah, on there. Why? Miss Shaylee can't sing, so the pretty singer was her.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What was Suge saying about all this?
I mean, Suge messy, so he like bullshit. Like, so anything that's gonna be messy, he like that shit. I'm sure he's excited and pumping it up. Like, that was his thing. Suge is the king of messiness.
Yeah, I heard he's an instigator.
What? He's the biggest fucking big kid instigator, fat boy, fat head. He's an instigator for sure. Okay. Ain't you sure?
So you didn't really get to hang out with Dr. Dre too much?
A few times, like at a Christmas party, something I can remember, Christmas party, the studio, you would see him in there. But hanging with Dr. Dre was like, it's Dr. Dre. You hung with all of the nurses and all of the people, the RNs and, the assistants and all of that. But if you hung around Dr. Dre really is, I guess, a very conservative guy and very serious about his music. So if a lot of bullshit was going on in the studio, Dr. Dre wasn't there.
So you don't think he was there for like a lot of the drama, the fights?
I think that's what sent him away from Death Row. He didn't want to be a part of it. I mean, he from Compton and had done all of that shit, but Dr. Dre wanted to do music. He wanted to stay to doing music, what we were making money doing.
What album was California Love supposed to be originally on?
I heard it was supposed to be on Dr. Dre's upcoming album. And then they decided to put it on Tupac's album.
And Dre was he mad about this? Was he cool with it?
I mean, look at the video. I mean, in the California Love video, Dre looked happy as hell to be in both. They did 2 videos. So, to hear that Dr. Dre was upset about that, you just don't know when it's rumors or when it's true. I don't believe that he was unhappy.
Oh, okay. So Suge was being with, Michelle was Dre's baby mom.
Yeah.
And then she started being with Suge.
No, you gotta say it right. She started creeping with Suge.
Behind Dre's back.
Yeah. I was there for the first creep, wasn't I, Miss LA? Remember? She forgets a lot of things, so I have to remind her of things. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So what was that?
I mean, it was cool. At this time, she was a drunk. So I guess she was into drunk pussy at the time, so I don't know.
Okay. So at this point, Tupac is out in the studio working, and you guys do a show in Ohio.
Yeah.
And someone threw a crutch on stage?
A crutch on stage. We up there doing, if you really wanna fuck with me, I'm ready. What's your phone number?
Okay.
And at the audience, a crutch come up on the stage. And I think Pac was like, whoever threw that crutch, if you say who threw that crutch, I'm getting $1,000, $500, whatever the number was. I'm getting his money up. And you could see 1,000 fingers pointed at this one dude in the audience. And he got snatched up. They snatched him up and the show went on. And Pac just threw some money out in the audience and they just went crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
After this, Tupac brought you on stage during his performance on Saturday Night Live.
Yes.
How was that?
Incredible. Who didn't see Saturday Night Live? Like, it was a show that's shown live, and to have that opportunity, I was scared as hell if you could see, you know what I mean? It took for Big Sight, to tell me to get up. I was just sitting there, you know what I mean? Because I wanted to not say too much. And he's like, man, get up. And gone. So I just got up and started singing. And Pac was so high where he forgot some of the words.
Oh.
to the song, and that's when he gave me the incredible shout out. So to be 16 years old from Chicago, and to get that much love from Pac and him shining the light on me at a moment like that, I'm grateful for that. I'm so grateful, and it's a moment that I'll never forget, a moment that I appreciate, and I think it's a part of hip hop history to be able to perform on that stage where so many other great artists have been.
Right. Did you guys party before or after?
Yeah,
anything?
we always party. We was high and drunk before we did it, and after we did it, we partied. We partied like hell, man, because it was definitely a celebration, you know, by Pac being home.
Was this right after he got out?
This was, yeah. So the tour and Saturday Night Live, a lot of things started ramping up for him, and a lot of promotion started happening for him. So everybody was happy because he involved them so much. He involved everybody in his record and involved them in the stuff that he was doing.
Oh, okay. What was a typical day with Tupac and Suge?
Man, if it wasn't studio, it was just fun, laughter, you know what I mean? Doing what we love, smoking.
What would be like one of your memorable times that you guys had?
Pac was a funny dude, like, you know, as far as, you know, joking and things like that. Suge is also funny. Like, being around Suge I don't know if I was more excited being around Suge than being around Pac, so to say. You got a joy out of being around Suge. And I'm sure Pac did as well because, you know, we wasn't hanging with the workers. We was hanging with the man that made all of the decisions. The man that, you know what I mean? If we said we wanted to go to the carnival, we shut the whole fucking carnival down and we go. You know what I mean? We go to Six Flags, and there's nobody else over here on that side. We go to the restaurant, we're the only people in there. We go to the mall. I remember going to the mall 3 a.m. in the morning. Who the fuck calls Foot Locker and tell them, okay, we coming? And call all these stores and say we coming, and the managers is in there sitting 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning waiting for us to come in, and we go in there and shop 2 a.m. in the morning and leave out with clothes and things like that. Just to see those fringe benefits that came with being with Suge and being around Death Row and the things that it bought so much.
You hung out with DJ Quick a lot in the studio.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any favorite times in the studio with him?
That's my brother. He's such a technical genius, a musical genius, a great heart, a great spirit. I've learned so much from being in the studio with DJ Quick.
Do you have a favorite experience that you?
Every moment went higher. It's not like I can pick one, you know, from his DJ Quick and cook his ass off. From eating his food to him picking up a flute, damn near trying to get a sound out of it, or him playing that triangle in the studio, making that, you know, the tick 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 thing on those tracks, just to watch him in action and work. And to know that he's such a humble dude since the time that I've met him until the last time that I've seen him. He's such a humble dude. Much love and respect to DJ Quick, a true legend.
Okay.
And my brother.
And you flew to Mexico to shoot, I believe, was it your first video?
Yeah, my first video I did Slip and Slide, produced by Devontae Swing. And actually, Genuine did the backgrounds to that song. We flew to Cabo, St. Lucas to do the video. And Suge flew out over 100 models and all of the artists from Death Row went. It was really nice.
Has this ever leaked? Have you ever seen it?
The video?
The video?
Oh, the video was released. It's on, y'all go online, y'all check it out. It's on my YouTube page, Danny Boy TV Unplugged.
Oh, okay.
Or you can go see it, just put in Danny Boy Slip and Slide. And the song was released, he spent a lot of money on the video. And we stayed there for about 2 weeks filming.
Okay. Well, when it was done, somebody stole your jewelry.
Yeah. You funny. Yeah.
What happened with that?
So they had this scene where I was supposed to look like me and the girl had sex on the beach. So all of our clothes and stuff that we had on was just laying on the sand, and my jewelry and stuff was laying in the sand. And we went to film another part while they were getting some of those filming. And I didn't pay attention to get my stuff before I went to the next part of the shoot. And I came back, all my jewelry gone. All my jewelry, probably about $50,000 worth of jewelry, is just not there.
And what happened?
Suge went off. He's cussing motherfuckers out, and my two guys that went over there with me, he was more mad at them because he felt like they should have been watching. He felt like they should have had my back. Kurt Cobain and Troy, my homie Troy.
Was Tupac there?
Yes, he was.
What was Tupac doing?
Acting a clown. Like, he was clowning more than anybody. So it was Suge and Pac clowning on both of my homies. Because Pac said in the bathroom, when he went in the bathroom, he was like, you know, Danny Boy always got something to say when somebody else niggas be saying something or doing something. But now his niggas, you know, and Pac like, we gonna fuck their ass up. And my guy Troy is in there with us, and he's basically instigating the fight to fight Troy, to jump on him. And Suge is finna beat Troy up, so they standing in front of Troy, and Troy probably weighed like 110 pounds. And they got him in the middle, and Suge standing there, and Suge go, who got more muscles? Me or Pac? What kind of fucking question is that? Who got more muscles, me or Pac? So he looking at Pac talking shit, and he's scared to say something, and he ain't really say nothing. So Hammer is in there too. MC Hammer's in there. Hammer put on his gloves. He got on his short finger cut off gloves, and he's sparring and boxing to the air. Boom, boom. He boxing to the air like they finna jump on my two homies in the bathroom. And Pac said something else, and Pac was like, fuck that, Danny Boy got to take care of his own people. We got to take care of our people, and he got to take care of his own people. We ain't doing shit. You know, he's talking about shit, and as usual, I'm like, man, shut up. We talking, we argued like brothers. And my boy Troy was standing there basically scared and shaking and got tears in his eyes. And Suge was like, so what you gonna do? You gonna handle your people? Or you want us to handle it? And Troy looking at me, and Troy got tears in his eyes. Troy like, you handle it, D. He told me to handle it, so I stole on him, but when I punched him, I kind of like swung and pushed him. So Suge then walked out the bathroom, and my boy Troy just crying, like, thank you, bro. He just crying and shit. So Suge was pretty upset, but they was just kind of doing what, you know, Suge was instigating, and it was always the things that they always did, just joking and scaring somebody. Like, they wanted to have them kind of scared because his jewelry was missing, but Suge was pissed off for sure.
So how long did you guys stay after that?
So we stayed there, myself, Suge, Miss Chalet, my daughter, Mom, and David Kenner and Suge stayed there an extra week. And we were ready to go by this time. We just ready to go. We were running late to the airport as usual. By the time we get to the airport, they're about to cut the ground lights off. Suge give them some money. They cut the lights back on. We take off. We get so high, I'm smoking a blunt, Suge smoking a cigar, and we listening to the blues. And I asked the pilot if he would cut the heat on. And so the heat came on, and then, we're up into the flight. We're going higher, and he's saying, how high we going, and you could see the trash can kind of like inside out, kind of like up and down. Like you see the trash, you look at it and we ain't tripping, and it hit a pocket, we ain't say nothing. And about 10 minutes after that, David Kenner, Suge's lawyers say, land this motherfucker, it's on fire. Land this motherfucker. He's like tripping out. And when I looked out the window, you could see just fire shooting out of the propeller. Wow. Just shooting out the propeller, and at this time, the plane was filling with smoke. And the plane was going down like that, falling hundreds of feet a minute, and we were almost like 20, 30,000 some feet in the air. And we're just going down. I'm hollering and crying. I'm praying. My daughter, Mom, passed out. Miss Chalet's crying. And I was sitting in the back, and Suge was sitting back there on the back row with me. And he had his arm around me. And I went back there, and he put his arm around me. He put his foot up, and he was smoking a cigar. And he was like, God got a lot for us, man. You tripping. We straight. We straight. And I'm saying every scripture you can think of in the Bible that would save me. And, to prove, I guess, him being right, God had us. I end up with a herniated disc. Obviously, I lived through it. I end up with a herniated disc.
From the flight?
From the flight. Well, I had a car accident after I got back to the States the next day. So 3 days later, I was in a bad car accident. And a couple of weeks went by, I couldn't walk. Had no feeling in my legs, so I was kind of like in a paralyzed position for about close to 60 days in the hospital, trying to gain my strength to walk and all those things, and to get my nerves. I had a lot of nerve damage in my back, and A couple of days before my birthday, they let me go home.
How'd you, I mean, like from the plane falling or?
I mean, the plane, I think in between the plane jerking and him making the safe landing that he did. And then, like I said, I got back the day after we got back, I called myself going to go straight to the studio. And I fell asleep coming off the Mulholland Drive mountain. And I woke up under a semi-truck.
Oh, damn.
I woke up under a semi-truck, so.
And you were in, how long were you in the hospital from that?
Well, that didn't send me to the hospital. I got right out and walked. From that, I just had blood coming down in the middle of my face. And I didn't go to the hospital around that time. That was around that time, yeah. I didn't go to the hospital for a while. Like, you know what I mean? I felt myself hurting. I started trying to go get massages and things like that. And after trying to we went to the Bahamas to record the Christmas on Death Row album. And I just lost all my feeling in my legs while I was there. I recorded that album, those songs. I recorded those songs laying down on the studio floor. And when I got back, I couldn't even make it back without going straight to the hospital.
Man.
And after getting back, I was in the hospital close to 60 days.
Damn, 60 days for your back? Wow. What was it like recording that Christmas album? You guys were, where did you say you guys were?
We were in the Bahamas.
The Bahamas. Who all was there?
Point.
Everybody went? Snoop?
What? Nah,
everybody?
it was just, it was Kevin Lewis, one of the studio directors, a lot of musicians, sound guys, background singers, you know, not a lot of the other artists. You know what I mean? It may have been another set of artists that, you know, was up and coming.
Okay.
But most of the records that was done, like Snoop and them did their stuff, we went over there and started doing all of the mixing and the finishing up and the recording stuff. I recorded all my stuff there.
Oh, okay. At one point you had mentioned that you had to wear a bulletproof vest a lot.
All the time.
What were some I mean, for everything? Award shows and everything?
That was a part of my shirt.
Oh, okay. Did everybody wear one?
Yes, sir.
I hear conflicting, like some people say Tupac always wore one. Someone said he wore one every once in a while.
I mean, you know, let me not say, and maybe I should say every once in a while. It ain't like I got up in the morning to put my bulletproof vest on. But we kind of, you know, if we were going out in a big crowd or some concerts or things like that, most of the time we had on bulletproof vests.
So, okay. You had mentioned you guys had to fight to get out of a few clubs. Can you give me some examples?
Man, there's so many examples. I think we fought everywhere we went. It was a Death Row tour fight. Like that was a part of the tour. Okay. You know what I mean? Because, you know, being the most infamous record label at that time, a lot of people I think wanted to test and see what Death Row was about. And Suge didn't have no homies that played. Like all of his guys were straight from prison, straight out of 12 to 20 years that they had done. They loved the street life. He just kind of helped them to get out of the streets. But when it came to doing street stuff, those guys was ready. And it was at the drop of it. I don't remember going to a city where we didn't fight, or sometimes maybe fight is the wrong word, where they didn't beat the shit out of somebody. So fighting, I guess, is when people fight back, right?
Okay.
Wasn't a lot of that.
No.
If it was kind of bad for them.
At this point, you know, you're working with Pac, the Makaveli album. You guys are working on that.
Yes.
What was it like recording the video and the songs for Toss It Up?
What? I think that's my most favorite, that's my favorite video, because, you know, I grew up singing with different groups in Chicago, and the songs that I sung were songs by, you know, Jodeci. Now I'm standing alongside Casey and JoJo recording that song, and then to have an opportunity we did 2 different videos to Toss It Up. But to be with some guys that I grew up listening to and that, you know, I respect them as singers. Nobody was hotter than Jodeci and Casey and JoJo at that time. So to be able to sing with them, and Aaron Hall just put like the icing on the cake, like to be able to sing with those legends at that time at such a young age, and to have the first verse and to be able to hang in there with those guys and not be scared. It was incredible.
How long was this before Tupac was shot? That you shot the video?
Oh wow. Well, that video had already been shot. Wait a minute, let me see here. If I'm not mistaken, I'm sorry. That was the last video that he shot. That was the last video that he shot. We actually, before coming to Las Vegas, we shot the video. We actually waited a long time for Pac to come to the set. And he showed up to the set. We did the video. And we immediately got on the road to come to Las Vegas for the Mike Tyson fight.
Oh,
So like
okay.
soon as they said, all right, cut, da-da-da-da-da-da, we got 100 and some deep cars driving through the desert to get to Las Vegas.
Is there any untold stories that haven't been out there about Tupac?
I think there are, and I think this is a great time to tell everybody to go get that Stranded on Death Row book so that they can hear some more about that. I'm giving y'all all the jewels, but I've shared a lot of things, on social media. I've shared in a lot of videos. I try to share my experiences because Pac is so respected. And there's so many great moments, it's kind of hard to remember everything. But as far as untold, I think there's more unheard songs than untold stories when it comes to Tupac.
Okay. You guys are heading to Vegas.
Yes.
You guys are 100 deep.
100 and some deep cars.
Can you take me through that weekend?
So we on the way down to Vegas and stopping in, I think in Barstow, if I'm not mistaken, some young guys said something to one of the guys in a restaurant when we did a pit stop for gas. And these young guys was on a football team. And they started talking shit. And Suge homies rolled their little ass up. Like, completely rolled them up. You seen little niggas in their jerseys going over there, being thrown back there.
It was a bunch of dudes
Well,
that they beat
it was
up?
a bunch of them. Every last one of them was getting tossed around in the parking lot, scraped up. And,
Okay.
after that, we got back in the car and headed to Las Vegas. Didn't stop until we got here.
Okay. And then you guys went to the Tyson fight.
They went to the Tyson fight.
They went to the Tyson fight.
Yeah.
And you didn't, how come you didn't go?
I had some cream pants on, and when I came out of valet, I was at the Luxor Hotel. The valet guy was like, "Mr. Knight, you have some red stuff on the back of your pants." And I looked down, and it was like splattered of red going up and down my leg from the bottom of my foot to the back of my calf. And it's like, I'm like, what the hell? So I called Suge on the phone, and he like, "Well, I'm gonna leave your ticket. Da-da-da-da-da, catch the limo up there, go get you some more clothes." And so I went to the mall. Everything was damn near closed down. I went and found some pants. I found something to wear. And when I got in the car to call Suge to tell him I'm on the way, he like, "Man, he done knocked this motherfucker out. Meet us at the club. We'll meet you at the club." Da-da-da-da-da-da. And I went to 662 and we were partying, and it took longer than usual for Suge to come. And after a few minutes went by, one of the guys came in and said, just like really, emotional, hysterical way, he said that Pac and Suge was killed on the strip.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
Where was going through your head when they came in and said that?
Like I'm looking, I'm crying, I jump in the truck. I didn't know which way to go. My security really wouldn't let me kind of leave, It wouldn't let me go too far. So I attempted to kind of try to find where they were. And after a little while, we found what hospital that they went to.
Oh,
And,
they were both at the same.
And everybody went to that hospital and just kind of like waited around. We just waited around to kind of see what was going on. And after a few hours, several hours went by, Suge, if I'm not mistaken, several hours, or the next day, Suge come walking out, and he signed himself out of the hospital. He was like in a daze, if I could, speak on that. He was more in a daze, like he wasn't Suge. I think he was kind of shocked or in shock. I believe so.
What was that week like? You were there the whole week, right?
I was there the whole week, very emotional, because, you thought Pac was gonna live, you know what I mean? But all these death threats was coming. People would call in and say that we gonna finish the job, and da-da-da-da-da. So we parked the U-Haul like on the side of the window just in case they shot up the window because he couldn't be moved. He was on life support.
They had him on the first floor?
On the first floor. And he was on life support. And, we would go in there every day, pray, and different people was coming to see him. And, the last day that I seen him, his mother and I and his aunt was in the room and a few more people. And when I sang, she said, sing something after we prayed, because we always just be in there singing and praying. She said, sing something, and I sang, A Change Is Gonna Come. And tears kind of like rolled out his eyes into his ears. And really that was the last time I seen him.
Okay. How did you, when did you hear that he passed?
So that night, early that morning, I left, because everybody kind of like took like a security position to kind of like walk around the hospital and make sure that everything was okay. I left early. I left maybe 3 hours before he passed. I was sleeping in my hotel room, and while I'm asleep, somebody just bamming on the door. I had the latch on the door, and the security kind of like, they broke in the room, because that was a suite, and I was asleep on the other side. And the homie Wack came in, and he jumped on the bed, and he just was hollering like, he gone. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He gone. He's like, he gone. He just kept hollering and crying, and he's gone. And I jumped up out of the bed. I had on some boxers and a t-shirt and some socks. And I jumped up out of the bed, and I just went to the car, and I drove to the hospital. And when I got before I even turned the corner, it was thousands of people like playing All Eyes on Me record, playing all of his music, and balloons and shirts and candles, and it was men crying. You know what I mean? And I jumped out of the truck without even stopping it. Like, it slowed down, and I seen the door, and I just jumped out and ran towards the door. And the nurse that was, taking care of Pac and, talking to us and telling us about, his situation. She just opened the door, and she just hugged me, and she was like, I'm so sorry. And my security just came in and grabbed me and like kind of covered me up. And we left off. I can't remember. I think we were down in the Fremont area of Las Vegas. The Fremont Hotel was one of those hotels. It was like a real small, old school hotel where we just wanted to be low key. His mother wanted to be low key, and we went there.
That night?
That night, to start talking about it, and to kind of.
Who all was there?
Everybody was.
Everybody?
Well, I shouldn't say everybody. All of the Outlaws and Tupac family, some of the homies, Death Row homies, Suge's homies.
Yeah.
But not a lot of the artists.
What was that week like for Suge?
He didn't want to be around nobody, and that was kind of different, where I wasn't able to get him on the phone or talk to him. We had a house here in Vegas, even though we stayed at the hotels and stuff like that. He didn't want nobody at the house. Like, he just wanted to be alone, and I can remember a couple of times sitting with him in a penthouse in the Luxor, and we would sit all the time and write songs, and he'd be like, I'm gonna write a song and you just sing it. I'm gonna say some stuff, and one thing I can remember him saying, we gonna write about having friends and those friends not being your real friends. And as he's talking about not having real friends, he's crying. Like, he's crying, and to have an opportunity to watch Suge Knight cry, smoking a cigar was, you can imagine that was emotional, because I really never seen him so humble, and really never seen him so weak.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like Suge, at least not what the public gets to see from Suge.
I like to always give the real of what I've seen with Suge. I believe he's a God-fearing man. I mean, to hear him pray, to hear him talk about the Bible, is something that the world would probably never get an opportunity to see. But for me, to know that it's in him, I just think that he didn't have the right people around him to send him in the right direction. Sometimes you can get things so fast. I mean, he had hundreds of millions of dollars and a lot of power. and everybody don't deserve power, and everybody can't handle power. And I think that put him in a bad position, knowing the power that he had. And he had to live up to what everybody thought of him. He had to live up to those things. And that's what have him where he is right now.
Tupac has passed away. You know, what's your guys' recovery process from all this?
Wow.
You know, what changed?
A lot changed, you know. I believe that it hit home for everybody. Everybody got kind of scared, you know what I mean? Because we were touched like that. To think that death row was so untouchable, and you know, Pac is gone, and that was a piece of the puzzle. When that part of the puzzle started falling apart, a lot of the artists, you know, we went to the Bahamas and started recording a record, and Suge was subpoenaed to come back to the States, you know, for the fight that happened at the hotel, and he was locked up. So that was demise. That was the beginning of the demise of death row.
When he passed away, did it feel like this is it, or did it feel like you guys were gonna, you know, be able to still recover? Or?
Well, I mean, you know, in my mind, I felt we were gonna recover because, you know, they were cutting records and stuff before Pac had came. You know, it was a lot of great artists that was still there, but again, the losing him, I think for everybody, it hit home. Like, you know what I mean? Whether you were, you know, there was times I was jealous of Pac because so much was attention. I was used to getting the attention that he was getting, and so much attention was on him. You know what I mean? So I know people were jealous, but I think all of those things were at ease after we seen that he had died. Like, you know, it was really real. You know, he dead. He's gone. He won't be here any longer. And I think that kind of like it had this cloud over death row for a long time.
So after Pac passed away, Suge goes to jail, and Michelle starts running things.
Yeah.
And starts handling Suge's business.
She started doing stuff. She never handled business when she did it.
Okay.
She never handled business. She started destroying business. That's what she did.
What were some of the things that happened?
I mean, you know, she cut people off that should have been paid. She destroyed lives. You know what I mean? A lot of people depended on the checks that Suge was giving, that they had worked for, but he was still giving them checks. And I mean, she made sure you didn't get those checks. She made sure your cars got repoed.
So everybody's cars got repoed.
She made sure that, you know, if she did give you a check, the right signature wasn't on it, or it was upside down, it wouldn't be accepted. The stamp would be upside down, it wasn't accepted. For me, what she done to me personally, Miss LA, if you'd like to know, I wrote Suge to get off of death row, to be released as an artist because nothing was happening for me and I lost everything. This is when I started learning about royalties, and I wanted an account statement. Michelle A sent me account ledgers, and in these ledgers read things like all the gifts that Suge had given me. It was listed, like birthday gift, jewelry, da-da-da-da-da, hamburger, da-da-da-da-da, tires for car, da-da-da, clothes for car. And when I got to the third page, it was my mother's funeral expense. And it was highlighted. So the bitch knew what she was doing when she did that. You know, it's like somebody that you're close to bringing a pie to you when your mother passed. You know how people give food as a sign of sympathy. And then when you get mad, you know, you say, I need my pie back. So she gave me this ledger with my mother's funeral expense, and this ledger was basically saying that I owed Suge for my mother's funeral. And that hurt because I remember times when Miss LA was a drunk and I put her nasty ass in the tub to help her get clean. I don't know if she remembered because she was so drunk at the time, but I remember pulling her out of the tub and Suge putting her in the condo and her going to sleep upstairs and us making sure that she was safe. And I would never say these type of things because when I did these things, she reminded me of a family member. She reminded me I'd done it before. I got aunts or some uncles or some sisters that was alcoholics, so I knew how to deal with her. And I dealt with her out of brotherhood or familyhood. And she dealt with me out of shit and spite. And you know, it really hurt me to know, you know, regardless of me being cut off from the things that I had, she had to make sure that I was cut off because I was being trained to run death row. There is no question about it. And she had to make sure that that didn't happen. And to get, you know, receipts for your mother's funeral, that's something, especially since she doesn't have enough nerve to ask for forgiveness from not just myself, but from the other people that she affected on death row. And then for her to come out with a movie to act like, oh, little me, I've been da-da-da-da-da, they hurt me and da-da-da-da. No, you were a bitch and a whore, and you were treated as such. And a lot of people were upset with me because I spoke the truth, but please forgive me for being disrespectful. I don't disrespect women. I come from a woman. I have sisters, I have a daughter. But if you was in my shoes, I don't think that there isn't any other way to speak of her until she deserved that from me. And there were times that I was put out of studios. I would go to a studio and she would have security put me out the studio.
Security? Put you out of the studio?
Security that was once my security that worked detail for me would tell me that I had to leave the premises because Miss Chalet can't concentrate in the building. The bitch still couldn't sing better when I wasn't in the building. But to treat me like that, you know what I mean? And to cut me off and to take my car and all kinds of stuff that she did.
What would she do when you seen her? Would she say anything to you?
I've never seen her. Like, she would make sure I didn't see her. No, I hadn't seen her since. I haven't seen her since. I seen her a few times up there visiting Suge, you know? And you know, I don't put all the blame on her because Suge's a piece of shit too. He knew what she was doing. You know, some of those things she had him do. That's how his evil ass got out at the time. So I don't just blame her. Both of them was a piece of shit at that time. I forgive him because I know he's not strong enough to ask for forgiveness. He's weak when it comes to that. But to call me and to be able to converse with me, I know that he wished that he could. As far as her, you know, I haven't seen her since, and I pray to leave it that way because I don't want to see her. Like, you know what I mean? Because she came out in this movie. I don't know what happened to her before I got to death row. What Dr. Dre did to her. I don't agree with any type of woman abuse, any type of violence or anything like that. But as far as when it comes to her, fuck her. I have nothing nice to say about her. Fuck her and fuck whoever don't like what I'm saying. I'm in Las Vegas. I'm real close.
Is that the main thing that was different? How was the vibe different?
Yeah,
with Death
it was
Row?
different. I mean, you know, because Suge was spoiling people. Now he's in jail, and I don't know what their allowance is in jail, but now you got somebody, living off of $200 a week that was used to spending $100-some thousand a week. So he became more selfish. He became more tight-handed. I believe that he felt like if he could live off of the $200 allowance or whatever allowance they was giving him, you know, you could live off of what if I give you something. Y'all could live too. He became bitter when he got locked up. And people started spreading more lies too.
So did you end up back in Chicago?
Yeah, I did. Homeless. While my music was playing on TV. With a little money left. And
That must have been rough. You're
was
seeing
it rough? Yeah. I'm watching
hits
Yeah.
on
Hits
the
that I wrote
TV.
on. Hits that I wrote.
And you're not getting anything
And
for
the
them.
only thing that I have is the money that my baby mama, thank you God, that she was putting up, or, you know, some money that we may have saved up, but no more than $10,000. And that's broke from, you know, what I was used to. I'm sleeping on people's couches, people that I've paid their bills in the past. Now I'm sleeping on their couch and they treat me like a stranger because it ain't on no more. So it was definitely a change for me. Then I had to begin working a 9 to 5 or whatever the hell it was. Shit, I worked in the nightclub. I started painting. I started embalming bodies. I worked for a funeral home. I worked at the examiner's office. I mean, I've done a lot of jobs just to make it by while being on television.
What was on Tupac's mind about his case? What was he? I heard he was like really worried about going back to jail.
Nah, man. You wasn't going to jail with David Kenner. You know, Snoop Dogg murdered somebody. Snoop and his security murdered somebody. Broad daylight. Were
you on death row when that happened?
Yeah, I was in court when he got freed. Murder was the case. That shit was real.
What was that time like in death row?
Shit,
man?
to see somebody like to know, see all that on the news that a dude got killed and we're going back and forth to court and Snoop Dogg is acquitted and walk out and never spend the day in jail. That's power. A lot of power. That's enough power for Snoop to love Suge forever. I mean, you know, power and money. There's a lot of people that's in jail. You don't get. Look at Suge.
So you
Suge's in jail for manslaughter. He got more time than Snoop did. Snoop and them killed somebody, first degree murder, and didn't spend no time in jail.
Who all was charged with that? Was it just Snoop
It
and
was
the
Snoop and
bodyguard?
his security and his bodyguard.
Just the two?
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys party?
Hell yeah.
What was
Man,
that party like?
We went to Monty's Steakhouse, man, and to partied and celebrated, you know, him being free. Everybody was happy. I mean, you know, nobody wanted to see him. I didn't hang around Snoop or didn't really know him personally like that. We only had the working relationship, the death row working relationship. But anytime something went down with death row or anybody that's affiliated, we represented well. And again, that was a great accomplishment for David Kenner to make sure that Snoop didn't spend the rest of his life in jail.
And I was a kid, but yeah, I was like, you know, first degree murder, and you know, from the outside it was kind of hard to know. It's not like the internet is today.
Right, exactly.
You know,
and it was first degree murder. He was on his way in.
Did you notice any change in Snoop? Was there any change in death row?
Nah, I didn't notice anything because again, like I didn't hang around those dudes, and none of them never really been too friendly to me.
There was a lot of rumors about Tupac wanting to leave death row. Did you ever see anything like that?
For what? I don't understand that. For what? I mean, let's go back. Pac ain't had no money before he came to death row. If he did, he would have got his own ass out of jail. Sorry. So I think that he appreciated what Suge did for him. Nobody else was reaching for Pac. All them rich ass friends that did all those videos and we love them and da-da-da-da-da, kisses to you, but none of you motherfuckers went and got him. I mean, the bail was high, but $1.5 million is not high for rich people. The only person that went and believed in him, that put the money, their money, it wasn't Pac money, Pac hadn't sold any records, was Suge Knight. And I'm sure it was an investment. But at that time, it was an empty investment because Pac hadn't recorded anything and Suge was the only person to believe in him. Interscope and those other people had given up on him. And for Suge to take his money and to go get him and turn him into the superstar that he became. His jewelry changed. He went from wearing flea market machine gun rings that was connected to one finger to diamonds all over his fucking body. Look at the videos, look at the things. What is he leaving for? Suge was getting them and giving them. Suge was perfect at spoiling you. No other CEO was taking care of their artists like Suge was. You didn't have to have out a record to drive a Benz. It was Suge Benz with his slick ass, but you look like it's yours. You didn't have to sell some records to live in Beverly Hills and to live in the hills and live in a nice house. I had a nanny. I lived in Brentwood. I had all of these things and hadn't had a record. And Pac had way more than me because Suge know how to flirt with you and court with you to get the things that he needed. And he know how to treat his artists at that time. So I couldn't see it. I was around him more than anybody when it came to Suge and Pac together. Nobody was around Pac like the Outlaws. We all know that. But when it came to them guys being in the same room, show me one motherfucker that was there more than me, not even security. I know the feeling that they had for each other, and I felt like they was brothers.
Were you there when Suge got out of prison?
In 2000 or 99 or one of them times?
Yeah.
I went back. He called me when he got out. I hadn't talked to him. Ignored all my shit. After writing letters, I used to write him notebooks. Literally, I would go get a notebook and write him page for page. Trying to get off of death row, trying to get food, trying to bury people that had died in my family. I mean, whatever came up, I was trying to get him to help or to talk or to release me. Then he finally got in touch with me. I don't know where he got the phone number from. He called at my cousin's house and asked me, would I like to come? You should come back down to LA, let's talk. And da-da-da-da-da. And I went back down and I was in more of a executive position than an artist. Like he was letting me make some decisions. And you know, he fed single mothers for Mother's Day every year. And that year he gave me about $160,000 for me to spend how I wanted to and make the event happen. So a lot of those things that he had taught me, he gave me the opportunity to do those things. But he had changed by this time as well. You know what I mean? The big money that he used to give you, he wasn't getting you no big money now. Now he give you $200 and it's balled up in his fucking hand and he give it to you. What the fuck is this, man? I want to throw this shit away, but it is $200. So you couldn't throw it away. But
Right.
he began to be a little more stingy. And
Who all was around at that time?
these are all the new people most of the new people like the Realist and Doobie the Realist, shit. You know, all those guys that came to the record label. It's like all those
Right.
guys.
So you were around like the second half of it too.
Yeah, for sure.
What
And
was
they
that
were-
like?
What was that like? Some of them was treating me like I was new. Like one of them niggas had my car. They had given him my car. He was riding around in the Benz. And I'm looking at them. I actually realized how stupid I was watching them. Because they was actually, I guess they was riding around and trying to be how I was and, you know, falling into all of the parties and falling into the jewelry and to the Suge Knight trap. And I'm looking at their ass like, you stupid as shit. That's not your car. Been there, done it. And they've treated me like I got a car. I'm looking at them like, okay, have fun. You know, so a lot of the things that I was falling for as a kid, I wasn't going for as a man. So Suge couldn't manipulate me or manipulate situations then, so I think that put a barrier in between it as well a little more.
How did you eventually get off of death row?
Clive Davis' son is a lawyer. I hate I don't remember his name. I'm supposed to remember his name. But he's an attorney and somebody put me in touch with him. Because I was trying to get on other record labels and everybody was closing the door on me because they was like, what Mr. Knight gonna think? And I finally got in touch with Clive Davis' son. And I went to visit him. I drove from Chicago to New York and we sat down and talked and he said, let me tell you, to make this easy, and this is for artists that's stuck in contracts, I'm finna give y'all game and my Cash App is, I'm just kidding. But my Cash App is Danny Boy Stewart. This is free game. I filed a Chapter 7. I filed bankruptcy. So basically when you're bankrupt, you can't be held to any type of contractual or legal obligation. And when it was discharged, my contract was discharged as well.
That easy.
That easy, y'all. The Cash App is the Cash App sign, Danny Boy Stewart. Get off your contract.
Who put you up on that game?
Clive Davis' son. And that was a favor because every other lawyer, I had given so many lawyers $5,000 deposits and, you know, agreements, hoping that they could help me, and to no avail. I got no help from them.
None of them were giving you this game.
None of them. I mean, I had lawyers that took money and that started working for Interscope and Death Row.
So they definitely knew.
Oh, they knew, but you know, everybody, how you gonna go against the machine and you want to be with the machine? I'm just a little dude that got $5,000, and a lot of them played me at that time.
That's probably a well-kept secret in the music business.
Yeah, for
They
sure.
surely don't want everybody to know that.
I mean, you're a lawyer, you fresh out of Chicago, and your client is going against Universal Records,
Right.
or going against Warner Brothers, and you the lawyer, and you get on the phone with somebody that you admire as a lawyer. Like, oh my God, that's Universal's lawyer, and I've heard of them. Now you acting like a student and not acting like a lawyer. So a lot of people, you know, kind of bow down to the other lawyers and just kind of let anything happen.
Right. What happened when you seen Suge in prison? Did you ask him to get off the label?
I seen him and we talked and he laughed and shit. I gave him my heart. I drove to see him from Chicago to California. I raised money to go see him.
What was he saying?
And we walked around the yard and shit. We walked around in the prison yard and, you know, he told me how people told him, fuck him. I said, fuck him and fuck Death Row. So he's bitter. He was mad. He was mad I hadn't seen him. He was locked up a year and I wasn't able to write him or see him. But those other people was telling me that he couldn't have visitors. I didn't know where he was. So they like hid him from me for a year. And all while they hid him from me during that time, they was taking stuff from me and my lights getting cut off. And so I'm sure there was a couple of times I said, fuck them. And, you know, from being upset from the stuff that I was going through and being ignored.
All right. So what are you working on now?
I am here at Legends Restaurant and Venue. Hard Rock Cafe meets the Juke Joint. Starving artists feeding starving people. My restaurant here in Las Vegas, Nevada. where I have talented people working as the wait staff. It's a place where we pay homage to people that we respect and that we miss, legends that we respect and miss, and that deserve it. To me, this is the Death Row headquarters here. I'm still putting some things together here where we'll have some plaques and different things on the wall. You can come here and get a Tupac burger. You can eat a Biggie burger. I have a Blues burger, so we name our foods and things after legendary people as well. I'm so excited about that, and this is a piece of the branding to get myself back on the West Coast. I've released a book that's called Stranded on Death Row that I'm still promoting. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. And if you're in the area of Las Vegas, 1500 South Las Vegas Boulevard, I have them here as well, available. And now I'm working on some music. I always get emails and different posts about me doing an album. I lost a lot of hope when it came to recording. I never lost singing. I never lost the gift, and I thank God for that. But I lost a lot of hope. I felt like there wasn't a place for me, or, I wouldn't get the opportunity that's needed. But I'm so appreciative of the internet and different ways of putting out music. I won't hold any music back any longer. I'm back in the studio, and I'm just looking forward to just release music, and whether 10 people listen to it or 10 million people listen to it, I vow to make sure that it's out and do what God has gifted me to do and do what I love doing, singing. I sing here. I'm the singing chef here at Legends Restaurant and Venue. I'm singing every day, and I'm excited about that.
Well, man, I appreciate you taking the time, man.
Thank y'all for coming all the way to Vegas to see me, to hot-ass Vegas. And anybody want to catch up with me, you can catch me on my social media. That is Danny Boy Stewart on Instagram, Danny Stewart on Facebook, Danny Boy Stewart on Twitter. I love to hear some of the comments. I love to hear some love, hear your truth, maybe your testimony. Just reach out to me. I'm answering questions. It don't matter. I do appreciate just being remembered for the small work that I had an opportunity to do with Tupac Shakur, and to be remembered for that. I'm so grateful for that.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.